This year has, among many things, thoroughly tested my outlook on what it means to both post and view artwork online. I first started writing this script as a way of navigating my complex thoughts and agitations over the way in which I present my work online, or more specifically, the lack thereof. But then new experiences, people, stories, and situations kept on rolling in one after another, and what was once a 10-minute script has now doubled. The final upload will certainly be a bit more than that. I've been posting my artwork online for over a decade now, and in those years, I've never amassed a following more than around 2,000 followers or so, even throughout the multiple accounts and different shows and games that I drew fan art for. But the longer I spent online cumulatively, and the more social media has changed for the worse, the more my art changed in ways that I look back on and find honestly violating. While I'm obviously the one that drew those pieces at the end of the day, I'd be remiss to say that it wasn't without heavy, weighted influence from the dangling keys of attention that various platforms promised me. I'm going to keep it brief to spare my sob story, and also because the details aren't strictly relevant here, but a few years ago, nearly an entire year's catalog of my artwork was tainted by the promise of algorithmic attention. Only in retrospect did I understand the ramifications of my time spent on social media and what it had done to me, my work, and the way I create. After some deliberation, I noticed that I approached illustrations in a very specific format that I knew worked and knew people responded well to. This approach worked well, as I could guarantee the kind of reception that I favored while maintaining a quick turnaround time to maximize the attention that I craved. What I had been subconsciously trained to do is probably the business strategy of most successful artists online, and that's all fine and well. It did work for me after all on a small scale, but it made me a shell of myself. I've never posted my work in hopes of making a living from it. I like the attention, who doesn't? But I had entirely separate career plans at the time. I post my art because I like drawing, so looking back at a hard year's worth of drawings and seeing the most formulaic work imaginable stare back at me, after having spent my entire life up until then experimenting and doing whatever I pleased, felt deeply wrong. I went cold turkey for a bit, but it didn't really take long for me to start posting again. Knowing what had influenced my work helped me establish some boundaries when posting online, and thankfully I never suffered from the same subconscious decisions that I had made back then. But as the years went by, and the older I got, now in my mid-20s or so, I feel like the lessons learned from my algorithmic adventure have only become colder over time. Despite the freshness in my memory, my first break only lasted a mere 2 months, if that. But the further and further I've been since that incident, the longer my breaks. While I've never managed a year, I've gotten pretty close. Rather than 1 to 2 months as an outlier, that became the norm between posts. And when I did garner more than 10 or so drawings on my account, I'd readily delete them without hesitation. The attention they received made little difference on the chance of deletion, and in fact, I sometimes relished in knowing something that would have tickled the attention-seeking part of my brain had I been less closed off, was now unable to give me anything that I had craved. For many years, I thought this was the correct choice. After all, I was just protecting myself, and that was true to an extent. My work became wholly untethered from the opinions of those around me. I drew completely, from every step of the way, for myself. But it's not like I ever gave those opinions much of a chance to form, now did I? I'd often say nothing in the caption and wouldn't bother with hashtags, speaking little of myself, my thoughts, and who I was. My presence online had a frigid exterior that would repel others, and that was by design. Though I wasn't rude by any means, if anyone ever did happen to leave a comment, I always did respond wholeheartedly. I've always been very grateful, especially considering that they liked my work enough to let someone as inapproachable as myself know. Recently, I've begun contemplating this stance. Is it wrong to be so intimidating, or am I just placing healthy boundaries? There's no correct way to be an artist online, but I've been so thoroughly burned that I figured this was the only way that I could ever stick around. Let's put a pin in that. A few weeks ago, I visited a friend of mine, and we ended up busting out her karaoke device. I've always been a socially anxious person, so I've avoided karaoke like the plague. But we were all a little drunk and had already been having a good time, so without getting into details, I ended up singing a bunch of Daniel Ingram's tracks from MLP with my friend's sister. It made me reminisce on my time spent listening to the thousands of songs made by various Brony musicians, so on the way home, I ended up re-listening to the standard model. Craving more, I decided to revisit my old MLP music archive that I'd made back in 2015, which I couldn't find. So off I went redoing some of my archival efforts. It was easy enough to re-archive a few artists' works like Matt R., Cruin, and SGAP, But Face Explodey, one of my favorites, proved to be a bit difficult. Not only did I forget almost every single song name of theirs, bar a few exceptions, but there was no dedicated archive for his works like there were for the other artists. For the next 6 hours, I scoured the internet in search of not only every song of his that I have ever listened to a decade ago, but every song of his that has ever been posted online in any capacity. I found my favorites, forgotten favorites, songs I could barely remember, songs I had never seen or heard before, and songs that had been posted shortly after I left the fandom. All of these tracks, barring one or two, were only available from fan re-uploads. Like myself, Face Explodey had scrubbed most of his work off the internet, and my rekindled love for his work was only possible due to the love and unorganized archival efforts of his fans. We don't know for sure why Face Explodey wiped most of his discography. I'd wager for the same reason my other favorite musicians did too. We can try to compartmentalize the destruction of our favorite work in whichever way that suits us, but we're only left to theorize when we're not the ones holding the deed. From one artist to another, though, something ached. Let's roll back a bit again. In January of this year, I finished up a night shift and I found this email waiting for me while warming up my car. Hi Halcyon, I'm a longtime follower of your work. I've enjoyed watching your art develop through the years and have found some of your works to be my favorites. I'm actually here to ask about this one piece of work you drew and posted it on, I believe, Instagram. The drawing has since been archived and I've never seen it since. The drawing had a focus on one of your characters and a taller boy. It had a lot of character interaction involving the two of them, most notably an emphasis on the boy's height not allowing her to be close. It was one of my favorites of yours and it inspired a few choices of my own art. I'd absolutely love to see it again if you'd be willing. I do apologize if this is a weird request/email, as I know that art piece is now years old, and yet here I am asking about it. Thank you for taking the time to read. Please feel free to ignore this if you want. I don't wish to push your boundaries. I just thought it was worth a shot at seeing the art that inspired me throughout the years. Thanks again, Kolo. To say this wrecked me would be an understatement. Even reading it now, I never really quite know what to feel. I'm flattered, honored, surprised, but I'm also regretful, resentful, and reflective. Someone had liked my work so much, a casualty of my own self-preservation, to go out of their way to not only describe the 5-year-old work, but request to see it again. This absolutely broke me, and I really can't explain this in any other way. What do I owe the fans of my work when I tried ensuring that they didn't exist in the first place? Of course, I immediately asked my partner to help narrow down the possible illustrations the request could have been, and sent a response off with the attachment in tow as soon as I got settled later that night. But the drive home felt like I was doing donuts in my mind on call with my partner as I deliberated my choices online up until that point. I probably cried from a mix of classic Canadian winter sadness, night shift stress, and the lonely sinking realization that I was far more self-destructive than self-preserving all these years. Am I correct in keeping my distance online? Am I hurting myself, or would my work just speak for itself? Can my work speak for itself if I keep deleting the rare scraps that I post? Am I good enough to adopt such a mysterious offline persona, or do I just look like a fucking poser? 5 years ago, I would have said that I no longer owe anyone online anything with respect to my work. No apologies, concessions, anything. I understand why I adopted that stance. I felt my work and my sense of self had been so thoroughly violated that I had to fortify my exterior in such a way that I could never be tainted by an algorithm ever again. But to what extent? Surely at some point I would have learned a thing or two, some affirmations, coping methods, anything to flourish safely and happily without losing myself. For a few months, though, I left it at that. Mid-download, I began forming some semblance of an answer. Face Explodey certainly owes me nothing, nor do I expect him to. I'm sure he's also keenly aware of the deep affection many hold towards the work it seems that he can no longer stand himself. Some artists will use this to their advantage, and I find this quite despicable. Over my long Easter weekend, my brother came home to spend the night. With little else to do, I continued chipping away at a sculpture as he finished a green deck Balatro run I'd started during our drive home, and he beat it, by the way. I was looking for something to put on the background, and Loot's Having Fun on the Computer 4 appeared on my homepage. Loot is a really great personal video game essayist that I was introduced to a few years ago with this video Mega Man X4 owns. I click with the style, wording, presentation, and overall genuine love for the media and art he surrounds himself with immediately. On top of having a mandatory kinship with anyone who genuinely loves Mega Man with such a baller title like that. I expected my brother would tune the video out, but to my surprise, he seemed quite engaged. Most of, if not all of it I'm sure, is a result of Loot's manner of speaking. As the video progressed, and as me and my brother made further comments on the games that he had gushed about up until that point, the presentation veered into a surprising but not unwelcome direction. He discusses the art made by a favorite musician of his, who, throughout his entire tenure as an artist, received little fanfare or recognition for his devotion and talents. I'm not going to summarize the entire second half of the video, as I find it so insightful that I'd like every artist and art appreciator to listen to both Lute's thoughts and Billy's music, but I bring this up because, after years of minimal reception, The Ghost in You, the very artist Lute had dedicated half of his video to, stopped uploading major releases in 2016. Until recently. In his official lyric video for God Forgive Me, he details his absence with recording new music, and what brought him back, a heartfelt note from a fan. I'm happy to share with you the first new song I've recorded in 3 years. As a self-taught, left-handed mediocre guitarist who can't read music, I've all but run out of things to play. I haven't even touched my guitar for more than a handful of times in the past couple of years. I had all but given up on being a songwriter anymore. The dream had died long ago. But a fan posted something on social media recently that really made me feel good and that my music was important to someone. So I dusted off the guitar and took it out of my girlfriend's basement. Over the next week or so, while noodling around, a song came out. Sounds pretty familiar, doesn't it? Billy has been creating work unapologetically him, and I'd argue, despite my confliction and my weird self-punishments, the works that I seldom posted were all unapologetically me, too. Those works never got me anywhere, really, and the only ones that did just made me feel ill. But yet, despite the absence, someone was kind, heartfelt, and genuine. Seeing an artist rise from the ashes with a newfound resolve to create because of the kindness of others, I finally got my answer. No matter how small or insignificant you feel, someone really, really loves your work. Sometimes to the point of a personal collection or even a dedicated archive, and they likely may never make themselves known. But as creators, we can offer them kindness by keeping our art relatively accessible. Even in the stillness, there's adoration, no matter how conceited this might seem. As creators, we're allergically adverse to assuming such things about our work. After all, such thoughts would be selfish, conceited, and narcissistic. That's just what we think, though, isn't it? But why is our default stance so fervently self-deprecating as a baseline until proven otherwise? Artists have the power to create works of art so varied in scope, medium, and subject to be seen, analyzed, and loved by many. But when those expectations fall short, and for so long, what do? As individuals, we hold the power to remind these people that their work matters. In a fraction of the time it takes for me to finish an illustration, I could have written multiple letters to my favorite artist, expressing how much their work inspires me to keep going. These things take such little time out of our day, but the impact it has is, in some cases, deeply moving. Must I remind you again that I've made this video predicated on the fact that I received such a letter myself. Last year, I made this YouTube channel hoping to give freelancing a try while streaming and documenting my work. It was something I'd wanted to do for a long time, but I have never really had a good home situation to actually commit to. YouTube's actually my oldest social media, as I was an early creator online back in 2011, uploading my LPS videos and series that I recorded in my room as a kid. I figured the best way for me to try this out was to just make something quick and genuine, discussing my situation and my intentions with the channel. I didn't expect much, really, but within 24 hours it had gotten scooped up by the algorithm, and I suddenly woke up to hundreds and then thousands of views and a lot of comments. Many encouraging me, wishing me well, discussing their experience creating art and sharing it on YouTube. I felt cradled and deeply, deeply lucky. On my second major video, I got a comment advising me on something that I'd have to change if I wanted to monetize my channel. Less than 6 months into having this YouTube, I was eligible for a partnership, and I'm still insanely grateful that my videos took off in such a way. But I've always held off on monetization, as you can probably imagine, for the same reason that I became a durian online. My uploads slowed, however, the busier I got with work. I ended up becoming a 3D CAD designer with a small company at the end of spring, not too long after making the channel. But I guess I figured out the whole art YouTube thing enough that a short video I had made 6 months after my previous ended up hitting my first 100k view count, something I'm still in complete shock over. I haven't uploaded since then until now, but I've actually received 2 inquiries for a sponsorship around the holidays last year. One with an enamel pin company, and another with what seems like a newly established drawing tablet company. I haven't responded to these yet, and I feel really bad about it, but I still haven't really figured out any monetization plans for this channel. On one hand, they're not some random VPN service or a free-to-play gacha, and they're genuinely relevant to the work that I do, but who am I as a person, as an artist, to monetize my channel and appeal to sponsors? Well, there's still no jobs in my field, but I did pay $200 to attend our local animation industry conference. and the consensus was pretty clear. We're all looking to swim in the same direction. Despite my gratitude, I don't truly enjoy my job. I feel I'll never be really happy if I'm not honing or exercising my 3D skills, and I want to, or have to, turn to freelance self-employment if I wish to do the work that I love to do. This is all to say that my self-preservation, yet again, has only become a more contentious topic as the days go by. If I monetize my channel, I'll find a formula that makes me the most money, and if I accept sponsors, my identity will come attached with an asterisk that must generally appeal to their tastes. I could do all of these things anyway and pretend not to care or let it affect me, but what happens when it becomes my rent payment? Is selling out worth making art my job, or do I persevere and protect myself and my work from outside influence, while still trying to reap any benefit that I could, even at a detriment to my finances? Many independent creators turn to Patreon to avoid this problem or lessen its negative impact, but truthfully, I can't stand having a Patreon. It might as well be another algorithm that I answer to. Making art, in of itself, is one of the hardest things to do. Making art that resonates with others enough that you know about it and believe it wholly is nearly impossible for many. And making art the same way that you always have, with enough fanfare to live off your work without compromising your integrity, I don't know. I don't have an answer, and I'm scared to find out. During my last session, my script ended here. I'm going to interject with one last anecdotal story. I visited some friends in another province, and one of them brought a tarot deck with them. I'm not tarot pilled or whatever, but I've never had a reading before. The art was exceptional, and on principle alone, I just thought it seemed interesting, so why not? While shuffling the cards, I was tasked with mulling over a problem or concern of mine. I asked, is going freelance the right choice? I'm scared that I'll fail, need a bailout, or have to go back to minimum wage again. I got a simple reading, but it was all I needed, I think. My friend gave me my reading, and, well, it basically told me to lock the fuck in. My desired outcome was the 10 of Cups, which signifies a light at the end of the tunnel, the best outcome. The blocker card was the Knight of Pentacles, although I think of this card as more of a vehicle to my desired outcome. The Knight of Pentacles says that it comes in the form of a dedicated person with strong work ethic, passion, and a committed touch to any project they're presented with. Look, I'm still not tarot-pilled, but it's nice, isn't it? To have something that resonates with my troubles and push me to just try. Because I have to, don't I? I have to try. Maybe it'll be really embarrassing, maybe I won't like it, maybe I can fumble my way through it, and maybe I don't even have to sell it at all. I mean, I actually don't really want my job to be a content creator paid out by sponsors and ad ref. In my ideal world, I'd like to work on indie or mid-level productions, while having my channel and platforms as a place to share my knowledge, work, and expertise with others as I grow and develop as an artist in person. Some people view their channel or platform as the end-all be-all of their workplace, but I don't really want YouTube, my audience's expectations, or random companies to be my boss. I'm just here to share my work and connect with others. The right way to be an artist online, or the right way to post your art online, will differ for everyone. Some do it purely for fun, some do it for marketing or networking, some for education, or some purely for work, and there's certainly a lot more in between. But for me, though, I'm just going to continue trying my best, for myself, my boundaries, respect for my work, for the many who support me and love my work along the way, and to give myself the best shot I can at the life I want most in the world. Hey, thanks so much for making it to the end of the video. Whether you were watching through the whole thing or just listening, it really means a lot to me. I just wanted to provide a little quick kind of post-mortem update on a lot of the things that I talked about in the video, because I know that I ended up speaking about a lot of different things and they all kind of mashed together at the end. I recently applied to YouTube Partnership this week while I was editing the video, because I knew that the entire thesis of the video was about me trying and doing something with anything. So I applied for YouTube Partnership finally, and I ended up getting approved in about 12 hours or so overnight. So I'm officially a monetized channel. I don't know at what point I'll be like paid out, because you have to meet a certain threshold, but I just want to thank everyone for supporting me ever since I made the channel. The first video popping off was genuinely not expected, and even though I've been eligible for a long time, I just didn't think it would ever happen that fast. I've deliberated again as I spoke over a long time whether or not I should do it, and it's just worth trying, so I'm gonna try. I also want to shout out two creators that I mentioned quite a bit in the video, Loot and Billy Pollard, or The Ghost in You. I'd really like it if you guys could check out their work. Loot is as I've said before, a very personal video game essayist. If you like very, very personal, very like from the heart, silly, like just heartfelt stuff about video games, long videos too. I genuinely really, really love his stuff. If I was making video game content, like video game essays, then that's kind of the stuff that I would be doing, and I love everything that he has to say. It's very, very fun. And if you're into, honestly, any kind of music, I really, really love the Ghost in You's music. I was introduced to him by Loot's video, and I've been getting through his 3 albums available on YouTube Music. It's a little bit hard to find his name, though, because it shares a name with some other, like, song title, so it gets a little bit buried. But if you'd like to check out more of his work on YouTube itself, you can search up his name, Billy Pollard, BILLYPOLARD, or search up The Ghost in You under artists, under like Spotify or YouTube Music. That should work. My 2 favorite tracks, as I mentioned in the little title section in the video, is Haunt You on the 3rd major album, and the new single, God Forgive Me. Some of you might be wondering what I'm going to try to do with this channel, and so far I've monetized it, and I'm going to reconsider the sponsorships and kind of get into some discussions with them on what I can and cannot do. But to make a long and short of it, I'm not going to take any sponsorships that are not relevant. I won't take any sponsorships that will not let me be good faith and honest. And I won't take any sponsorships that I cannot use transformatively in a way that is not inherently only for myself. So, for example, if I take, say, a drawing tablet sponsorship and they send me a drawing tablet for review, I, 1, must be able to be completely honest, and 2, I would like to be able to give that away in the video and work it into a larger point about drawing tablets. Anyway, thank you very much again for sticking around till the very, very end this time, and I hope everyone takes care of themselves. Thanks.